Welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University BA Geography 3rd year 5th semester. Unit 4 Earthquakes and Seismic Zones. In this chapter we are going to study about earthquakes and the zones where they are going to occur. So, according to this subject, there are n number of disaster types. There are cyclones, fire mishaps, and earthquakes, rain flooding, and snow covers. Out of all of them, we have many number of different types of disasters. Disaster is an undesirable occurrence of mishap, whereas hazard is the situation which has the highest potential of disaster. So, disaster is a position where things have been mishappening. In this way, disasters can be natural and man-made. Further, natural disasters, mainly earthquakes, are the natural occurring of breakdown of earth crust. So, eventually earth crust is made up of thin layer which happen to break because of internal disturbances. This causes the earthquakes or volcanoes. If we see the whole number of disasters which occur on the earth's surface, out of them earthquakes happen to be 5% out of total disasters. So, according to the 100% of disasters, earthquakes are happening in the zones of delicate crustal surfaces. So, natural activities on the earth's crust are basically the volcanoes and earthquakes. These are happening because of the pressure conditions which are generated within the earth's surface. This earth surface is consisting of different layers. These layers are differently density wise layered one on another, and because of rotation and revolution of the earth surface, the disturbances in the internal structure of the earth creates the disturbances on the surface. So, these earthquakes they occur usually throughout the year along the diversional or convergence zones of the earth's crust. There are major and minor earthquakes which are occurring throughout the world. So, here the earthquakes, it is not only the jerk at one point of place of the earth's surface, but this jerk may overall lead to the multiple side effects over a period of time. The acute damage can be done by the tsunamis which are occurring over the oceans and leading to the washout of the coastal lines where they occur. So, even minor earthquakes that cause little damage at one particular point, but over a period of time, even an inch difference in the coastline can damage the kilometers of the continental shelves. So, this is how the earthquakes occur and damage. So, once at a time, we can just understand what is an earthquake. Earthquake is a small jerk in the earth's surface because of crustal disturbances, and these crustal disturbances can be close to the crust or interior of the crust. So, if the crustal disturbances are occurring somewhere around hundreds of kilometers below the surface, then the intensity of disturbance on the surface will be very low. Whereas, if these crustal disturbances are close to the subsurface of the earth, then the crustal disturbance will be more. So, this is the fault line where you have the disturbance of crusts, they are moving apart or coming closer, and you have a disturbance or tension triggering at one particular point, that is known as focal point of the earthquake, where the disturbance has begun, and this focus point radiates its energy or vibrations towards the surface and occurring onto the disturbance occurred on the surface. The exactly perpendicular point on the surface is known as epicenter. So, epicenter is the point where the major break or the major shaking of earth seismic activity is observed, and the vibrations they ripple or they go further as the distance increases. So, you have the relic waves which are moving in a wave format, whereas the seismic waves which are moving in a vibration format. So, both these formats are the waves which are released after the seismic activity is occurred. So, as we know, the Earth's surface was a single Pangea. 2000 before 200 million years ago, Earth was a single landmass called as Pangea, and this Pangea started cracking itself because of geochemical disturbances. That is how in the earlier class we have said that the rotational and revolutionary system of the Earth's surface is trying to disturb the internal structure of the Earth, and the liquid layers of the Earth are really carrying the crusts of the Earth's surface. This liquid layer or asthenosphere is trying to be volatile and trying to move the crust on the Earth's surface. These crusts, when they are moving from apart from one another, they are creating lot of disturbance on the crust as a whole. So, we have both oceanic crust which is basaltic in nature, we have continental crust which is granitic in nature. So, granitic layer is relatively lighter than the basaltic rock. So, in this way the oceanic crust is submerged, or oceanic crust is submerged on the submerged under the continental crust. So, this is how the plates are moving away, and we had the Laurentia Gondwana which has formed nearly 1500 years ago, 150 million years ago, and the today's land formation which we have the plates, major plates and minor plates as North American plate, we have South American plate, African plate, Eurasian plate and Pacific plate, Australian plate and Antarctican plate. We also have some of the 9 small plates which are also moving towards or going away from each other, and they are causing the breakage in the crust. Whenever we have a rift in the crack or crack in the surface, we happen to see the earthquakes in those areas. So, these are some specific zones where we have this seismic activity. That means wherever we have the delicate area which can be broken away, or which are the layers or boundaries which are coming together, these are the zones where we can see high amount of earthquakes. So, at the same time, let us also explain once again the composition of the layers of Earth's interior. We have core, a dense liquid matter, the mantle which is the asthenosphere which is having a volatile or viscous environment, and then we have the solid crustal surface as continental crust and oceanic crust. So, over here we have already told that the oceanic crust is denser, which is going under the continental crust and trying to destroy itself, and continental crusts are increasing more. So, these are the mechanical layers. Further, we told that because of revolution and rotation, the interior of the earth is always moving itself. The liquid material in the mantle, which is 80% of the density of the earth, which is viscous in state, is trying to have its own convectional cells. They are in a 4 different angle, and they are moving at its own local area, and it is occurring the disturbances on the earth's surface. So, these local disturbances on the earth's crust are leading to the disturbances on the earth as a whole, or continental crust as a whole, as we have already studied in the Wegener's theory of continental drift. So, single Pangea was divided because of these convective currents which we have in the earth's surface. Further, we can see that because of these cells which we have seen earlier, they are resulting into different plates and different movement onto the surface. So, the major movement when the initial earth was there, the Pangea was located in the south near Antarctica or South Pole. Over a period of time, because of this nuclear cells forming, the internal disturbances created the northwest movement of the continents. So we can see northwest extension of America, northwest extension of Europe, which give you some idea about the direction of movement of these continents. So according to this movement, it is not only they are moving, they are also colliding to the parallel parallel land masses which they are trying to confront. So this is the Rockies and the Andes mountains which are confronting the oceanic belt, and this oceanic landmass is submerged and the land continental crust is trying to fold itself to form the fold mountains in this area. Same with the Indian plate, which has dissected itself from the Antarctica, flown towards north, and it has tried to pull itself towards north, and it has uplifted the coastline or the Pantalsa, which is now called as the Himalayan mountains, which were the sedimentary occurrence of the rivers which were brought down from the Eurasia. The uplifted Himalayas and the Alpines are nothing but the river which was already there in the earlier years, that was in between Gondwana land and the Angara land. Whatever the sediments were there, because of this push from the down, the continents have pushed this sedimentary area, sea deposits, into a fold mountains. So this is the stretch of fold mountains which were built because of this shift of lands. So this shift of land not only creating new land masses, but also wherever they are moving away, resulting into the cracks or earthquakes. This is known as the seismic energy or seismic zones. These are all the red lines are the seismic zones of the world where we can see the earthquakes. These are the major plates you can see further. So during this transformation of land, some area is getting apart, which is known as extension of continental shelf. Some parts are going in the opposite direction, and some areas are compressed. When they are compressed, already we told that it is the orogenic transformation wherein you are getting the land elevated. All the fold mountains are the results of compression of land. So here we can see that the oceanic landmass is getting under the continental landmass. Why? Because continental landmass is lighter than the oceanic landmass, which is made up of your basaltic rocks, and continental landmass is made out of your granitic rock. So because this basic rock is getting under, so new land is formed of the continents. Over here we can also see that wherever the continents are trying to get away, the local magma is trying to come up and consolidate in terms of mountain ranges. So mid-oceanic ranges in the oceans are the examples of new land creations and the new continents extensions in the coastal area. So you have divergent plates, you have convergent plains, you have transforming plains where the land are moving onto part. So these are some of the reasons wherein you have the earthquakes happening. So this world map, which also shows the different plates which are moving apart and getting break in between themselves and sliding away from each other, and these are the zones parallelly falling onto the surface, giving out epicenters of the earthquakes. So these are the major earthquakes, major and minor earthquakes occurring in these areas, which actually fall parallel to the your plates. So all different plates are trying to create these cracks and earthquakes. So all the zones of the earthquakes are majorly the plate boundaries. So wherever you have the plate boundaries, their amount of major and minor plates are bound to happen. So here we can see ring of fire, which is surrounding the Pacific Ocean, and here also we can see single Pacific Ocean as a single plate which is trying to melt itself towards the continents and trying to create new continents and dissolving the oceanic crust. So earthquakes are nothing but they are the shift of tension or sudden shaking onto the surface of the earth. So it may range from some kilometers to some hundreds of kilometers. kilometers, it ranges from some seconds to minutes. So, the intensity of the earthquake depends upon the distance of earthquake occurrence from the surface of the earth. If the distance from the earth's surface, the occurrence of the earthquake is inside, deep inside, then the tremors or the shaking of the earth will be lessened because the shaking is absorbed by the large landmass. If the shaking is near to the surface of the earth, then the direct effect of the energy is observed on the earth's surface. So, earthquakes happen without warning and can happen anytime in the year. So, most number of earthquakes we can see around Ring of Fire, and near USA you have many regions like California, Hawaii, Nevada and Washington, which are famous for minor earthquakes. So, at the same time we have many number of earthquakes types. We have solid inner core earthquakes, mild earthquakes occurring on the molten or the mantle or on the crust itself. So, what are the causes of earthquakes? Earthquake causes because of local disturbances of the rock which are sliding, the continent which is sliding one on another, or it can be oceanic crust which is moving from each other. So, classification of earthquakes. They can be deep earthquakes, intermediate earthquakes and shallow earthquakes. When an earthquake occurs, different types of energy waves are generated. We have P waves which are known as surface waves. We have S waves which are known as secondary waves. We have surfacial radial waves which travel parallel to the earth's surface. What are other types of earthquakes which can be existing? Earthquakes can be existing because of volcanic eruption. A sudden eruption in the form of volcanoes, the magma is outpoured onto the surface. When we have a vacuum in the surface, the sudden pit is adjusted by the solid crust down. So, this solid crust falls down because of a pit in the molten area. This sudden dip can result into earthquake and result into collapse of landforms. And explosives, like we may have some chemical reactives, radioactive material which is stored in the earth interior, and sometimes it may explode. Because of this explosion, the crust may break itself and may trigger to the earthquakes. So, there are very rare occasions when we have the anthropogenic effects on the earth surface, drilling of the solid rocks that may also mismatch the balance of the rock and lead to the earthquakes. So, what are seismic waves? Seismic waves are, as we have already studied, are the primary waves which travel in a longitudinal way, and the secondary waves which are traveling because of the secondary waves, because of the primary wave trying to motivate the crustal movement. And then you have the surface long waves, are also known as L waves. They originate when P waves hit the surface. The instrument which we use in studying the seismic waves is known as seismograph. So, earthquake zones, as we have already studied, they are the geological plates which actually control the zones of the area, and we have major zones as Pacific zone, Ring of Fire, where we have more number of volcanic eruptions, where new land is forming and oceanic crust is submerging. You have lot of molten material coming out and adjustment of the land, where we have number of earthquakes occurring. They are also known as the geotectonic movements are still going on, very active in this zone. So, seismic zones are basically measured in terms of Mercalli scale, which have different zones. Zone 2 is about 6 magnitude scale, and zone 3 is a moderate intensity zone with 7. And zone 4 is the severe intensity zone around 8 magnitude, and then zone 5 is very severe intensity zone with above 9. So, these are the scale with the intensity we can measure the movement of the earth and estimate the damage caused. This is world map wherein we can see the zones as they are very much falling close to the plate boundaries. This is the mid-oceanic ridge where we have very mild type of earthquakes occurring, whereas as we have already said that ring of fire is carrying highest amount of earthquake zone, and we have all the red spots are above 8, which is very intense earthquakes we can see, and here and there around Africa we have major earthquake zones, and in the Himalayan zone, Tibet and Himalayan zone, we have number of good amount of intense earthquakes we can see. So, ring of fire is the place where you have lot number of earthquakes happening because of whole lot of disturbance in the form of northern American plate and southern American plate, and here Eurasian plate and Australian plate are moving against the Pacific plate. So, here once again when we come back to India, India is facing all the 5 major zones, whereas the 5th zone is towards the Himalayan zone. You can see that this is the Zaskar range, this is the Himalayan range, lesser Himalayas and higher Himalayas. So, this one in Assam and northeastern states are in the 5th zone, which are above 10.7 intensity, and here again we have in the Gujarat, which is high intensity, Latur and other earthquakes have been noticed over here. These all areas are the zones of fold mountains. This happened to be the area, the Gujarat area is close to the Eurasian plate and the Indian plate attaching itself and forming the fragile zone. This is the fragile zone because of which we have the high intensity earthquake zones, and this is the Himalayan sedimentary rocks which are very fragile with the movement of this Indian subcontinent moving towards north and dashing your Eurasian plate and creating fold mountains, and here because of the fold mountains which are sedimentary in nature, they are not strong or tough, which they can't withstand the convective currents within the earth, and here we have the earthquakes. The recent earthquakes which have occurred in Pakistan, Kashmir or northern India and also in the northeastern India are because of this fragile zone which is made out of Penthalsa or the sedimentary rock of Himalayas. This is the area which is liable to shaking intensity of earthquakes is very high, and because they happen to be a very mountainous area, the landslides are very common because of earthquake. So, when we are talking about the disaster here it is multiplied because of the shake. When it is shaking, of course the land is shaking and breaking out, but because of this basic rock, when it is displaced, the above land becomes very fragile, and that also slides down over a period of time when it receives high amount of rainfall. The rainfall picks away the sediments or the soil below the rock masses, sedimentary layers, and these sediments become dissected over a period of time. These huge boulders try to move down and become a huge landslides, and this is the major cause of landslides in the northern India. So, next zone comes your high risk zone intensity, like that is Kashmir and parts of Haryana, Punjab, Uttaranchal, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, it goes up to Sikkim. So, this is the major zone of Shivaliks. As we can see, we have Himalayas above, higher Himalayas, then lesser Himalayas, then pediment Himalayas or Shivaliks. So, Shivaliks are the actual foothills of the your whole Himalayas, wherein the shocks are observed. So, this is also not very safe zone, but it is also a high risk zone because of the fragile terrain. As you come southern part, it is more of a blue, that is low risk zone. Why we have low risk zone? Because this is a Deccan trap. Deccan trap is nothing but, as we have seen in the geological time scale, in Cretaceous period we have two volcanic eruptions, a huge eruptions which were settled, and this is nearly 500 meters of sediments or the lava which have settled in the southern part or the middle part of India, which have become very strong and they are not very much active in volcanic. But even though it is not earthquake prone area, but still because of anthropogenic activity, drilling of the basaltic or granitic rocks of Deccan trap is resulting into the earthquakes of Hyderabad or Bhadrachalam, or we have Ramagundam, which is doing the coal mining. So, in this way we can see many number of earthquake zones in within Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, because of the this particular rock which is coming up as a solid feature, and also the coal mining, all the gold mining which is happening over here. So, finally, we can say that the decades of earthquakes. So, we have number of earthquakes in India, like 1970 to 80 we had five major earthquakes, whereas 1980 to 90 there were 63 earthquakes which have intensity which had the high intensity earthquakes, whereas in the near future, like near past, we can see 2010 to 20 we had 71 earthquakes occurring in India itself. So, all these tectonic movements can't be controlled, but anthropogenic activities are also contributing to the seismic activity. So, recent 8 magnitude earthquake have occurred in the Russia, which have really disastrous effect on that particular country. And we can see a number of disasters. Out of that, earthquakes in history have really contributed a lot of damage towards the human history. So, finally, we can say that in this chapter we have concluded the sudden occurrence of disturbance in the rock crust is known as earthquakes. Faults are the breaking points in rocks along which movement occurs. The focus is where an earthquake occurs, the epicenter is directly above it. The earthquakes generate seismic waves, and they are generating a chemical known as radon gas. So, whenever we have intensity of radon gas present in the soil or the groundwater, we can say there the earthquake is going to occur. So, Richter scale measures the magnitude of the earthquake, whereas the Merkel scale measures the intensity of the earthquake. An earthquake forms when two or more large pieces of land crust bumps into each other and unexpectedly drops down and breaks. So, luckily we have chunks of earth movements very slowly moving. If they are moving very fast, then we can't control the earthquakes. So, these locations are where the edges of the earth's crust are located. They are called the faults. Pressure and heat builds up over time, causing repeated ruptures. Ruptures are nothing but breaking points for the earthquakes. Scientists use devices called seismographs or measures the power of earthquake with the help of moment of magnitude scale. The larger the value of this scale, the greater the damage caused by the earthquakes. The damage caused to the surface depends upon how close to the surface the fault events occur. Thank you.